Going live now. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to DFS Army's Tournament Strategy Show. Today's one of those special days where I have two of my guys, B-Dubs and TK. Moss, how are you guys doing today?
Doing good, ready to get a new week started.
Yeah.
Pretty good,
First
ready
week,
to win.
Yeah, ready to win. Last week was pretty good. It was solid, but I think we can do even better this week. We have a really big, large slate on deck. So let's go ahead and jump into it since we don't have any games to kind of reminisce on since we don't really do the Sunday NBA slate. So let's jump right into the first game. We have the Celtics at the Wizards. And the big question mark for this game, outside of the massive spread, is Daniel Gafford. He's listed as questionable. That news, I think, will matter a good bit on this slate. But B-Dubs, I'll start with you. How are you treating this game today?
So yeah, I'll start with the Gafford news first. So if he's rolled out, I think Gallinari will definitely be a guy on my radar. I think he probably sees the biggest benefit, and then I think Muscala might be in that conversation as well. But I think it just depends on who will get that starting role. So that's a situation I'll be keeping a close eye on.
Thankfully, this is a 7 p.m. game, so that's news we should get well in advance. So we don't have to overthink it too much, and we should get that starting lineup in time, so we don't have to dig too deep into that. What about some of these stud players like Tatum's, Browns, Kuzma's, Pools? TK, are you getting to any of those guys?
The only stud I'm getting to is Tatum. He's like the biggest stud from this game that I'm getting to, and that's about it for the studs.
Yeah, I think a guy that I like here is Kristaps Porzingis. He's been really good this season. The hard part with him is that center position is so valuable, and there's already a lot I like on this slate, so we'll have to play it by ear. Of course, we'll get to that on the pre-lock show, which, for those of you that don't know, is for DFS Army members, VIP members, and you can also become a member if you're interested in utilizing our Discord to stay up to date on the news like Gafford. You can get a 10% discount. Click the link in our description and use BDUB, BDUBB, for a promo discount there. What about you, B-Dubs? Is there anyone else that we're overlooking here? Maybe like Drew? I know he's popping a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to mention Drew. I don't mind attacking him whenever he's in that 6K range. But overall for Boston, it's just so hard to attack this team when everybody's healthy. Like, any one of these guys could go off. Even Jaylen Brown, he is at a decent price, 7,800. So I wouldn't be surprised if he popped off tonight too. It's against a horrible Washington defense, so it's kind of like a toss-up for me.
Yeah, it's like playing the Chiefs. It's like there's a lot of potential options here. They need to all be in your mix, and hope you kind of land on the right one. And I didn't sound like you guys are too high on like Poole or Kuzma here.
Kuzma, I don't mind playing. I still like that price tag on him. Jordan Poole, he's been shooting horribly. He's getting a ton of shots up. So if they fall, he can maybe get you there, but he just hasn't been shooting the ball well enough for me to want to play him.
Yeah, and that spread is terrifying. So
yep,
a little hard for me to force this game, but I do like Porzingis. He's really the main guy, and then some of those Wizards pieces that you guys mentioned, especially if Gafford's out. Next up, we have the Pacers against the Bulls. Zach LaVine, I am very frustrated with after his performance on Saturday, being questionable all day, but we're not going to talk about that. He is listed as probable, so at least he should play today, so that issue isn't really as big of a deal, and the Pacers are pretty healthy. B-Dubs, how are you treating this game?
I'll probably take some shots on Halliburton, especially if his ownership continues to be super low.
You love Halliburton, man.
I'm a huge Halliburton fan. He's just good. And then the Bulls trio, as annoying as they can be, I definitely want to get a mix of LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic.
Yeah. And good to see everyone in the chat. Thank you all for sticking around with us. And Octavius, I love that you have some momentum going. Hopefully you can keep it up too. Yeah, the Pacers are looking pretty good, Bobby. One of the interesting things here for me is the Bulls have been playing at like a breakneck pace. They've been playing fast, and the Pacers are the third slowest team in the league right now. So it's always interesting to kind of see how things will play out here. I typically trust the sports books, and looks like decent total here. One of the highest on the slate alongside a nice spread. So this is looking like a game I do want to target a good bit. What about you, TK? Any interest in these players, primarily from the Bulls or the Pacers, potentially?
Yeah, I agree with everything B-Dubs say. And also, I got eyes on Miles Turner.
Yeah.
I think he can come out here and have a big game. And I'm kind of getting into a little TJ McConnell as a value as of right now. So I will add to that.
Yeah, TJ is popping a little bit in the DS as well, so it definitely agrees with you so far. We'll see if we get more value on the slate. B-Dubs, do you have any interest in TJ today?
I gave him a second look. His first game he only played 6 minutes, but the second game it went up to 19. So as long as he continues to see around 20 minutes, definitely don't mind going here. But it also depends if any other value opens up as we go through the rest of the day.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who are trending in the right direction, but you can tell that it's definitely a slate where we don't have too much value yet when a guy like him's popping, but we'll wait and see. He's viable, but ideally we'll have some better value that kind of pops up. Do we have a favorite play from this trio between like Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic? Like, honestly, it's kind of hard for me to pick one. I kind of want to ride the hot hand and hope Levine has a big game, but it also wouldn't shock me if it's DeRozan today too. Just kind of like this game a lot. I'll probably have a decent mixture to both sides, but TK, do you have a favorite between like Levine, DeRozan, Vuce?
Yeah, I would probably go with DeRozan because he's more consistent.
Yeah. What about you, B-Dubs?
It's kind of a toss-up for me, and I typically play the ownership game with them.
Yeah, so keep a close eye on the ownership because I do the same thing. All right, next up we have another game I like. I feel like most slates I like a lot of the later games, but this one I'm kind of liking these early games, so we'll see if that sticks around. We'll start with the Nets. Like, the Nets have been a solid, of course they're 0-2, but they've been decent. Like, Cam Thomas has been on freaking fire. He's finally starting, which increases his consistency. Not gonna lie, just the contrarian in me wants to fade Cam Thomas. That's just what I want to do. But he's facing off against the Hornets, and he's cheap. He's still only 6K. For the upside he's been presenting, it's really hard for me to find a reason to fade Cam Thomas. But TK, how are you treating the Nets today?
Man, I love the Nets today. Cam Thomas has been on fire, and I'm going to ride the hot hand with him. Yep. I like Spencer Dinwiddie. I like Ben Simmons, especially because we know some of the guys for the Nets are out with Claxton and Cam Johnson. So I'm gonna go heavy on the Nets.
Yeah, it's so weird. Ben Simmons has been performing decently from a fantasy standpoint, and that's all been without scoring too much too. So like he's been getting decent rebounds, assists. I think in like the first game he only had 4 points. The second one he had 10 points. So maybe he's getting a little bit more confident there. That's a narrative I'm creating. But I like Ben Simmons' upside too in this spot. Any Nets that we're kind of missing out on here, B-Dubs?
Yeah, so these guys are typically ugly plays, but I would not be surprised if one of the two popped off, and that's Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith. They both, I kind of put them in a category together. They both play a lot of minutes and can fill the stat sheet. They're just volatile, but I mean, it's the Hornets and the matchup is great. So at both of them, slightly over 4K, I'm willing to take a shot on both of them.
Yeah, especially with Cam Johnson out. That's what makes them both way more viable on this slate. And those of you who have played the Mavs before, like last year, you know what DFS does. Mr. DFS himself can break a slate or get you almost nothing. That's just kind of what you're betting with. And like you said, B-Dubs, it's the exact same situation with Royce O'Neal, and we have them on the same team. So lucky us. But like you mentioned, TK, I'll have a lot of exposure to the Nets tonight in a lot of different variations. For the Hornets, though, they've been super balanced. Just outside of Mark Williams crushing that first game, they've just been very balanced. I know LaMelo had a decent game last time out too. B-Dubs, are you getting any exposure to these Hornets guys?
I want to like LaMelo, but that's another guy who's been shooting poorly. I think he's shooting like 22% so far from the field, but he can put up a triple-double any night. So I wouldn't mind taking like a small share of him. And then I definitely don't mind Terry Rozier. I like his price tag. Outside of those two, I'm not really liking too many of the Hornets guys.
Yeah, Terry Rozier is just one of those guys who always just kind of finds a way in the Nuts lineup. So you don't want to forget about him. What about you, TK? Anyone else we're kind of forgetting about on the Hornets?
I want to go back to Mark Williams. I think this is a good. It should be a mismatch, and I think Mark Williams. Yeah, he should. I think he could easily come out here and get you double easily. I like Brandon Miller, who played 33 minutes last game, and he's 5,200 on DK. So I like those two at the Hornets for me.
Yeah. So surprise, surprise, we like a lot of the players in the 3 games that have the highest game total. That's how you do it, guys. You focus on the totals, and this is a good game environment, like you mentioned, TK, and we're going to have a lot of exposure to these teams. A game that we might not like as much is the Portland Trail Blazers against the Raptors. You know, I feel like we have to talk about Scoot. Like everyone and their mom's talking about Scoot and how bad he's been. B-Dubs, like, what are your thoughts on that situation?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out why DraftKings hasn't dropped his price yet. I mean, as long as he's 6K, I can't play him. He's just been horrible so far.
Yeah. I want to find a spot to play him. I will play him again this year. I know a lot of people have written him off. It's just, this is definitely not the spot, and this is definitely not the price tag. Of course, I'm saying that, so he might get right tonight, but there's no logical reason for that to happen. Do you think we're missing something here, TK?
From Portland? I'm with you guys with the Scott Henderson. I think I'm just gonna fade him until he proves he can do something right.
Yeah.
But I like going to Shaedon Sharpe and Emmy and the big GPPs from the standpoint he's the alpha of the team with Simmons out, and the shot attempts will be there for him. So I think taking a stab on him, going to Malcolm Brogdon, that's something I would do.
Okay. Let me look at some of these questions right quick. Khalik, the cheat sheet for the full NBA cheat sheet is listed on our website under the NBA tab, and then you click on cheat sheets there, and then there's a few different options at the bottom of that for different sheets that we have. So just find the full cheat sheet. I think it's the second option. Yeah. Thanks, Cole. Good looking out. Franklin said, if Bam is ruled out, do we think Jovic or Bryant would start for him? Sorry, this has already been answered. No worries. We'll get to that when we get to the Heat's game. I'm glad everyone is agreeing with us on the Scoot side of things. B-Dubs, what about for you? Anyone else on Portland kind of standing out?
Yeah, like TK said, I don't mind getting some Sharp. I think he's priced where he should be just based off of how he's playing, but he's been one of the better looking Blazer guys. And then I'll definitely be probably going right back to Brogdon. He's looked pretty solid so far. And then I think we both like attacking Ayton too, and I foresee him being super low owned as well. So I don't mind taking some shares of Ayton.
Yeah, I mean, Ayton's probably feeling some whiplash by how bad he got beat up by Embiid last night, and I don't foresee things getting much better for him today. Siakam is pricey, though, for the Raptors, so we can transition and start talking about them or him. Or do you it sounds like you have some interest in Siakam, maybe Podol?
Siakam, I don't have too much interest in him tonight. I haven't seen that upside so far this year. I want to like Jakob Podol, but he's only been barely playing above 20 minutes and hasn't been that great. But his price tag keeps making me want to play him. So I'm not rolling him completely out, but definitely a little hesitant going there. But one guy I might for sure play is Scotty Barnes. He's been smashing every game for them so far. So he'll definitely be on my radar.
Yeah, 7,700 too, and not a bad matchup against Portland. So I don't hate that spot. And like you mentioned, Siakam is expensive. We haven't seen the upside this season, but this seems like a get right spot for him. So he's on my radar as a potential leverage play against Ayton, who I like to pick on. The alternative would be Jakob Poeltl, but the lack of minutes he's been getting is really freaking me out. I'm going to look a little bit closer at it. It does look like he's projecting pretty well in the domination station, so that might help me get some exposure to him naturally without going crazy. So we'll see. Anything that you think we're kind of missing here, TK?
Not that you guys hit it on the head, and also I'm kind of interested in Dennis Schroeder.
Okay,
he's somebody I take a stab out. It's still early in the season, yeah.
Let's see. Dennis Schroeder 5,900.
He's been pretty solid so far.
Yeah, he's been in good form. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Good call out for sure. And he's definitely someone that I want some exposure to on this slate too.
There is one more situation I'm looking at for this team.
One more.
So
okay.
if OG is questionable, if he is rolled out, a guy that'll be on my radar is Grady Dick. He played 20 plus minutes last matchup and took advantage of every minute and looked great. He's a rookie for this team and has been said to be the best shooter in the most recent draft. So if OG's out at 3,700, I definitely want to get some shares of Grady Dick.
Yeah, that's a really good call out and speaks to the tournament aspect of this show. OG being questionable is a big deal on this slate. Grady Dick has so much hype behind him right now. I think even with this game having a decent chance of blowing out, I don't like playing the blowout narrative, but if OG's out, Dick is extremely viable for the blowout narrative and also just having more minutes in that situation. All right, next up, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Atlanta Hawks. Decent, one of the top totals on the slate as well. Nice game spread too. So these are the type of games we like to target. Let's see. Do we have any injury news we should look at here? It does look like we have Jaden McDaniels listed as questionable. That's something we should keep an eye out for because he is a starter for this team. Then the Atlanta Hawks are pretty healthy right now. Beat-ups, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'll definitely have some shares of some guys here with Minnesota. Haven't seen it yet, but Anthony Edwards, especially if his ownership is really low, I wouldn't mind taking some shots there just because the matchup is really good. I'm always hesitant about Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert, but bigs have kind of been smashing against Atlanta, so wouldn't mind some small shots there. And then Conley and Kyle Anderson, they're both in that low 5K range, so I don't mind getting to either one of those guys either.
What about you, TK? Anyone standing out for you?
Yeah, I like Towns and Gobert. I think with this 234.5 total, I think those two look the best for me. And then, like B-Dub said, if Anthony Edwards' ownership is low, then I'm going to definitely get more than the field on him.
Clint Capella on the Hawks is just like Ayton for me. Those are two guys you can pick on from an offensive standpoint. And I'm not the biggest fan of playing Cat. I don't love playing Gobert typically, but when they're in decent matchups, I'm more open to it. As of right now, I'm not getting a ton of exposure to them, but it's a situation I want to keep a good eye on. What about on the Hawks? I know Trae Young has been hot garbage this year. I think DeJounte Murray's in a decent spot at 7,400 against this Minnesota team. I feel like he could be a little interesting. I want to see the ownership because I feel like he could be sneaky, but maybe not. What do you think, TK? Anyone on the Hawks standing out for you?
The only person who stands out for me is the Jalen Johnson piece.
Yeah, he's been good.
I think he's a pretty good mid-range play, but other than that, I'm not really getting to nothing on the Hawks.
Yeah, you can tell the coaching staff really trusts Jalen Johnson. Just how much they're playing him, moving him into the starting lineup is definitely a good spot for him. Or is definitely a good spot for him on this team. What are your thoughts, B-Dubs? Do you have any interest in Jalen Johnson today?
Oh, yeah. I love Jalen Johnson as well. He's been looking really, really good. So I'll definitely be going back there tonight.
Yep, awesome.
And
Anyone
then,
else we should talk about here?
Yeah, I think a couple of other guys that's worth mentioning is DeAndre Hunter. He's actually been pretty solid so far this year and has a nice price tag. And then especially if we don't get much more value opening, I don't mind going right back to Okongwu.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Domination Station agrees too. Khalid said, you trust Siakam with that price? No, I do not trust him. But if he's low owned, which goes to Thomas's question, I think he could be a solid leverage play on this slate. It's a good get right spot for him. For me, low ownership really depends on the situation and the type of player you're looking at. But usually 10% or under is low ownership on a stud, depending on the slate, sometimes 15% ownership. It just depends on how many games are on that slate. What about you, B-Dubs, TK? Do you have like any, sorry, TK, I didn't realize these questions covered up your face. How do you all kind of view low ownership in that kind of game?
Kind of the same way you just said. Usually, especially like on big slates like this, 10% and under for me is kind of the guys I look at to see where I can get leverage on.
Yep, agreed. TK, anything else to add there? Or?
I agree 100% because I remember also. I remember I did research years ago about like the winning lineups, and I always noticed it was maybe about one or two players under like 15%, under 20% in the winning lineup. So I always try to get over the field on those lower guys.
Yep, agreed. We can talk about the chalky guys all day and look smart, but if you're not taking shots on these low owned guys who look crappy, you're never gonna have a GPP takedown. OG asks, what kind of slate is it today? Honestly, man, I always just kind of mass multi-entry. Sometimes I do 20 max, sometimes I do 150. The slate itself doesn't really move the needle for me too much. It's just kind of how I'm feeling that day. But it's still early in the season, so I try to be a little careful with my spending until we have a little bit more information on the rotations and stuff like that. Let's see. Anyone else we should talk about with this game? I know you mentioned Okongwu, which is pretty interesting. TK, anyone else you like?
No, that's about it.
Cool. All right. Now we're about to get into a stretch of games I don't love as much, but we'll see if maybe y'all disagree with me. So next up, we have the Mavericks against the Memphis Grizzlies. Let me check for some injury news, see if there's anything we're missing here. No, not really. It looks like for the Grizzlies, Santi Aldama's out, Luke Kennard's out, and then there's some people who have been out for a while for them, so nothing too crazy. The Mavericks are pretty healthy. TK, how are you treating this game today?
Yeah, this game is not too appealing for me. Obviously, I'm gonna always love Luka. And then for Memphis, I just like Tillman, and that's it for me.
Yep. We talk about it all the time. Bad defense, slow pace, never a game environment I love too much. Luka's super viable for me. I do think there's probably someone we're overlooking in the mix. B-Dubs, do you think there's anyone that we might be overlooking here, or do you kind of agree that you don't like this game too much?
I looked very hard at this matchup trying to find something that I liked, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I really want to play JJJ again, even though he's been bad, but I can't stomach it against this Maps team. And I kind of want him to go down price-wise because, he hasn't been that great lately.
Yeah, if he was in the 7K range, I wouldn't mind playing Jaren, but everybody's priced right where they should be, and it's just hard to get there.
Agreed. All right, next up we have the Pistons against the Thunder. For the Pistons, James Wiseman is probable. Nothing too crazy there. Bogdanovic has been out for a while. The Thunder, Kenrich Williams is TBD. Nothing too crazy. TK, how are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I think I like the Detroit side a lot better than the OKC. I'm definitely going to get to Cunningham. I love Duran. And then I like Asura Thompson as a good mid-range piece. And yes, and then Ivy. I think Ivy's okay. For him, it's just the minutes. The minutes have not been there, but he's somebody I'll probably get a little of.
Yeah, Duran's been hot this year. He's been really good. What about you, B-Dubs? Any interest here?
Yeah, the OKC side is I'm not really liking too much, but kind of what TK said, Jalen Duran, he's been a monster. He's hard to believe he's only 19 years old and is already looking like one of the best centers in the league. Another guy that is on my radar is Azar Thompson. He's one of the best looking rookies so far, great defender, and he's just been playing well. And I like that price tag on him, so I'd be willing to take some shots on him.
Yeah, Thompson's leading the team in rebounds. The only guy who's beating him, well, he's second on the team in rebounds. The only one who's beating him is Duren. So, yeah, those are two really good guys for this team right now. A lot of strong youth just across the board in this game. But like you all, I like the Pistons a lot more than OKC. I don't love this spot for SGA, but I just don't love that game in general outside the Pistons. Next up, we have the Warriors against the Pelicans. Back-to-back game for Golden State, but this is a national televised game, so I'm keeping an eye out for injuries, but I am leaning towards we might kind of get what we see already here. For the Warriors, they're looking pretty healthy. No one's on their injury report. The Pelicans, the only guy who's missing are the guys who've been out for a while, so no real injury news for this game as of right now. B-Dubs, what are you doing with this team or this game?
I'm not really liking that Golden State side. Everybody's price is just kind of up there. Even Chris Paul with Draymond back, even though Draymond has been on a minutes limit, Chris Paul coming off the bench at 7,700. That's going to be tough to swallow.
Yeah, one quick thing. Someone in the comments last week was like, Josiah, you don't know what you're talking about. Chris Paul, he's going to stay a main part. He's moving to the bench as soon as Draymond's starting. Like,
right.
I know what I'm talking about sometimes, guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Chris Paul is too freaking expensive for 7,700, especially against the Pelicans today. Like you mentioned, I don't really like any of these Golden State guys. I think Draymond's always interesting just because he can do a lot and he adds a lot to the team, but he's not really someone I'm trying to force in the lineups on this slate. TK, anything you think we're missing on the Golden State side?
Yeah, I agree. Golden State doesn't look appealing. But I'll go to Curry definitely. But that's about it from That's about it from the Golden State side.
Yeah, I agree. Curry always has ceiling, and so he's always worth keeping in the conversation. But as of right now, not a priority for me. What about on the Pelicans? TK, do you think anyone we should mention on the Pelican side of things?
Yeah, I'm gonna have interest in Valanciunas. I still think 5,700 is a decent price, and he's always been a good fantasy points per minute player, and that's about it from the Pelican side for me.
Yep. What about you, B-Dubs? Anyone we should pay attention to here?
Yeah, I don't mind taking shots on Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. It's kind of hard to try to figure out who's going to smash between those two, but especially if their ownership is low, I don't mind going there. And I want to like Valanciunas, but his minutes are not where I would like them to be. But against Golden State, who we all know struggles against bigs, and at that price tag, I definitely don't mind at least taking some shots there. And then
go ahead.
One more guy I've mentioned too, and I kind of put him in the category as like Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal is Herbert Jones. He's been pretty solid and playing a ton of minutes. I could maybe see taking a small shot on him as well.
Nice. Yeah. Joe Val's minutes are always a hot mess. Every season, they're always all over the place. You kind of, I like the spot against Golden State. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the minutes and just kind of see if I can feel confident enough to be over the field on him, but it's a good spot. Looks like we missed some questions. Skull said, what do you guys think about Tim Hardaway Jr.? I know we passed that game already, but B-Dubs, do you have any quick thoughts on Tim Hardaway?
I thought about him. I don't see myself getting there just because he's another volatile guy. I mean, he can get hot from the three, but he's just not consistent enough for me to want to be high on him.
Mm-hmm. And Vince, for finding low-owned plays, there's a lot of different tools. The main tool we talk about all the time is the sim model, which is only for DFS Army members right here. Again, Link in the description. Promo code BDubs for 10% discount for that. But watch the pre-lock show, Vincent. BDubs and I typically go over kind of what we're doing to get exposure to the guys we like on that show. Let's see. OG, congrats on the 10K win. That's awesome, man. Love to see it. Awesome. All right. I think it's safe to pass this game. Anyone have any interest in like Brandon Ingram here or Zion?
I'll definitely be taking some shots on Ingram. Zion, he just hasn't been doing enough to pay that price tag off, so I'll probably be fading him.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry if you mentioned it already, but I was like, I don't know if I heard that. Let's go back. Let's see. For the Heat against the Bucks are coming off a back-to-back. They played last night. Lillard was god-awful. Bam is questionable. So that's a really big piece of news that should dictate the slate. Is he still questionable? Yeah, he's questionable still. Awesome. TK, how are you treating the Miami Heat today?
Yeah, I'm gonna have some interest in Butler, Bam, and Hero. I think those three guys I think they're a bit. They're priced where they should be, but I still think Butler could have a big game. Bam, Hero, because they always compete well against the Bucks. So those three are my favorite from the Heat.
Yeah, I agree. Jimmy Butler in a tough matchup, always viable. He tends to still have ceilings, even if it's not your favorite matchup, which it never is when you're playing the Bucks, but he can still get there. B-Dubs, how should we treat this situation if Bam ends up being out? I'm assuming it's probably a situation if we just wait and see who starts, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, it depends on who starts for me. Based on how he looked last game, getting a start, I would rather go Jovic. He'll be the guy that's on my my radar if Bam gets rolled out.
Yep. That's always my philosophy. Wait and see the starting lineup, play who starts. It's pretty usually that simple. TK, anyone you like on the Bucks side of things?
Yeah, the only person I was getting from the Bucks was I was kind of getting Giannis, but I kind of did some research and I know that he doesn't do too well versus the Heat. And with him being 11K, I'd rather just get under him and just let the field eat that Giannis.
Yeah, we'll be honest. I get it. What about you, B-Dubs? Any interest in these Bucks?
If their ownership is low, I'll never mind getting some of Giannis and Lillard, especially Lillard, with how bad he looked last game. I think it's going to be one of those competitive games that kind of feel like the playoffs. So I typically like to target the studs in games like that.
Yeah, you know the emotion's going to be there. Butler a little butthurt that they weren't able to get Lillard. Lillard a little salty. He wasn't able to go to the Miami Heat. This feels like it's going to be one of those games that's going to be fun to watch. And I feel like it could be nice from a DFS standpoint with the studs. It's not one that I really want to take some shots on with some of these cheapies. It's really more so just kind of focusing on the key role players in this game. So I agree. 2 more games left. We have the Utah Jazz against the Denver Nuggets. B-Dubs, I'll start with you. How are you feeling about this game?
I think it'll be a rough one for Utah, so tough matchup for them. As far as Utah, I don't mind taking small shots on Markkanen just because we know the upside he can have. I'm just not a huge fan of his matchup. And then I really want to like Walker Kessler because I've been going to him every game because of his price tag is really nice, but he's only seeing like a little over 20 minutes a game, so he might be a little hard to get to. But outside of that, it's looking pretty rough for Utah.
Yeah, it's weird, just like Kessler not seeing the minutes that we all feel like he should be seeing, but it happens sometimes. What about UTK? Anyone we should look at on this Utah Jazz side of things?
Yeah, I was getting to some John Collins and Clarkson.
Okay.
I think John Collins has looked good this year. That's probably with him playing so well. That's probably why Kessler is not seeing the minutes. And so I'm definitely gonna get the Collins, Clarkson, And I don't mind a little the Horton Tucker at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like Collins has really been, and they're the same exact price, and Collins has been outperforming Kessler at this point.
Yeah.
And I do think Collins is probably the better play here at this point, which is interesting to see as well. Let's see, what's the spread for this game? Yeah, pretty wide, pretty wide. Yeah, it's hard to try and force exposure to a lot of these guys given that spread, but I there's still some shots that are viable here, but not my favorite game on the slate, but I'll just have to keep an eye on it, and we'll talk more about it during the pre-lock show. But no one's really standing out for me too much here. What about on the Nuggets side, TK?
Yeah, from the Nuggets, the only person I'm getting to is Jokic.
Yeah,
And but on FanDuel, I do have interest in Jamal Murray on FanDuel. He looks better on FanDuel than DraftKings.
nice. Okay, good call out. What about you, B-Dubs?
Yeah, definitely Jokic, and I'm hoping his ownership is really low because I love getting leverage on him when the field is like under 10% on him. So I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel like I can't even write Jokic as a leverage play anymore on the cheat sheet because it just becomes too easy. It just becomes too easy for him to be like 3% owned, and you're like, all right, let's play 6 or 10%. All right. That hits like pretty consistently. It almost feels like we can't do it anymore, but we're going to keep doing it because it just keeps working out. If he's chalky, then it's an easy fade. Chalky in this case for me would be anything over 10% on Jokic would probably be too much if the field is over 10 on him. If he's like around 2 to 3%, that would be perfect. Anyone else, guys? Like an MPJ, Aaron Gordon. I know we were on them a lot last week. I know you mentioned Murray, TK. Any of these other guys throwing up for you, B-Dubs?
I want to like Murray. I just wish his price tag was a little cheaper. And then Gordon and MPJ, it's always hard to figure out both those guys. If they were still in that 5K range, I'd feel a little better about playing them. But I probably won't be getting to them too much.
Good times. All right, last game on the slate, and probably one with maybe a few question marks. The Lakers played last night. We know the Lakers love to not play LeBron James a ton throughout the regular season. B-Dubs, we were talking about it before the show. We felt like this could be a spot where LBJ actually sits, but this is a national televised game, so that might make them decide not to do that in this case. Let's see. Any injury news for this last game? Jared Vanderbilt's been out for a while. Orlando's pretty healthy. Nothing too crazy. TK, how are you feeling about the Lakers today?
Yeah, the Lakers, I'm not really getting to anybody from the Lakers because LeBron is still in. But if LeBron would to be sit down here, I think Davis looks a lot better. Reeves. And then I will also love Christian Wood on FanDuel if LeBron sits.
Okay. All right. What about you, B-Dubs? Anyone on the Lakers look interesting to you?
Yeah, Anthony Davis is playing some great basketball right now, so I don't mind getting to him. If LeBron does play, I don't mind playing him either. I'm kind of throwing that minutes limit thing out the window because he went over that again last night, so I'm not going to let that concern me too much. And then nobody else is really popping for me.
Yeah. If this team is healthy, I'm really only just trying to play AD. It looks like LeBron is projecting well in the domination station, which isn't my favorite play, to be honest, at 9,100 against the Magic. I'll probably lower it a little bit, but AD, I'm playing with or without with or without LeBron. And I love him a lot more if LeBron ends up being out. What about for the Magic? Are any of these guys standing out for you all? TK, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm getting to Markelle Fultz. I think he's priced really good on DraftKings. And also, I like Pinchero on FanDuel. He looks appealing on FanDuel. But I really love the Markelle Fultz because this Lakers team coming on a back-to-back overtime. You know they're gonna be tired. So I think getting to some Fultz and some Cole Anthony and GPPs looks good for me.
Yeah. You know, I agree. Markelle Fultz is a good DFS play, but people are starting to talk about Markelle Fultz like he's good. And I still don't think Fultz is good. He's a decent point guard, but I don't think he's good. But for DFS purposes, I think he's definitely very viable on this slate at only 5,400. Decent upside, I agree. What about you, B-Dubs? Anyone that we're kind of missing on the Magic? I don't love this team really outside of Fultz as of right now. But I always have some interest in playing bigs against the Lakers, so I need to look a little bit closer at them.
Yep, glad you said that because another guy I was going to mention was Wendell Carter. He hasn't had that breakout game yet, but he'll definitely be needed with going up against AD. So he has a nice enough price tag for me to want to get some shares of him. And then one other guy too who can pop off, but just isn't consistent is Franz Wagner. I definitely don't mind getting some shots on him as well, just because the Lakers are so bad defensively. Any of these guys could have a smash game.
Yeah, agreed. David, I saw your question. Any interest in Prince? TK or B-Dubs, either one?
No, not much.
No interest.
Yeah, I'm not
TK, any interest for you?
No.
Yeah.
After that first game, he just hadn't been that good, so I'm probably avoiding
he's
that
pretty
spot.
much exactly what he thought he would be. He's a bit of a streaky, solid defensive player. If his shot's falling, he can definitely get there. 4,700, but big if that shot's falling, and also how involved will he be? Not my favorite spot for him, but I think it's always a worthwhile question at this point. Awesome. Well, we made it through this 11 gamer. Feeling pretty good about the slate. Per usual, everyone definitely check out the pre-lock show. That will be at 5:30 p.m. later today, only for VIP members. Of course, if you're interested in becoming that, link in the description. Promo code BDUBB for a 10% off discount. But thank you for sticking it out with us, guys. We look forward to seeing everyone later today, and if not later today, tomorrow. Good luck. Take down some contests. Peace out.